All right, thank you for joining. So let me just show you. I've got quite a few samples of tulips because I do like painting tulips. Um, they're loose, they're fun, they're easy, they're very easy. So trust me. So if you are painting along, um, let me know how you go with it and share your photos in the group afterwards. Either you're watching now or watching the replay. So yeah, share your photos. I'd love to see what you create. And I want you to just make it easy. I want to make it easy for you so that you can just pick up a brush and a few basic supplies and be able to paint a card or a gift for somebody. So this is a greeting card that, let's show you that one. So that's just a greeting card. Nice, easy, but it's so personal. And they can frame that afterwards because it's a beautiful piece of art as well. So, a greeting card. I just want you to be able to pick up a little bit of paint and some supplies and let's mute that 1 second. Okay. Yeah, make it easy. Just make it easy and start painting. And really that's what it's all about. So here's another one. So what we're going to be doing tonight is painting in layers. So we start off with a very light layer. If you can see that, very light layer there. Let's see if I can get that to work. Hopefully that's working. There we are. A very, very light layer there. So we start off, we paint in 3 layers. So we always talk about tea, milk and honey. So we've got 3 layers. When you're thinking of the consistency of the watercolour paint, so we start off with tea and then we move for the next layer. Once the first layer is dry, the next layer is more the consistency of milk. So a little thicker and we get a little bit more depth to our flowers. And then we finish it off, once it's dry, we finish it off with a honey layer. And they're the little fine details. You can see, just the little details in here. And it's the really small bit. It doesn't take long. So as much as, your first layer probably takes the most time, then we dry it, then we do the second layer and it's less painting. And then the third layer is just the very fine details at the end. Here's another one that I've got just in my little sketchbook. There's another couple. They're always different. There we are as well. So they're always different. They're fun. They're beautiful. This one here, I actually painted with a different brush as well, just to see how I would go painting something different. Painting it with a different brush, so there's different shapes. But tonight we're going to paint with just a regular mop brush, and this is the one that we sell in the painting kit. So we're just going to use a regular mop brush and keep it nice and simple, and that's the main thing, is just keep it as simple as possible with just a few supplies so that you can just pick up your paint easily, quickly, paint a card if you need a gift for somebody. So we'll talk, when we switch the camera down, we'll talk a little bit about the paint and the paper as well. I did print off some reference photos for myself, which is something that I don't do very often. So I usually paint from memory. So I did have some reference photos. So when we turn down the camera, we'll have a bit of a talk about that as well, about their shapes, where the darkness is and where the lightness is as well. So we'll have a bit of a play with that. So we might turn the camera down and see how we go. Let's get into it. Okay. Just fix this. There we are. Okay. Righto. Let me just see. That's not there. 1 second. We'll get started. There we are. Beautiful. Okay. have some comments. Christy, thank you, Christy. Nice to have you, Michelle. Very wet in the Hunter Valley. Interesting. So I'm not getting comments on my laptop, but I do have my iPad here and I'm getting some comments. So, Carrie, no problem. You'll get the replay anyway, but you haven't missed anything. So let me know if you're painting with me. Hopefully I can keep that going. Okay, so this is the brush. We talked about that. It's just a regular mop brush. It's not anything in particular. They do come in different sizes, and different. So mop brushes are great. Mop brushes are great because we can get it to come to a really fine point, as well as using the body of the brush. Let me just get that wet. As well as using the body of the brush to make a different mark as well. So that's why I really like a mop brush, and see how beautiful point that comes back to as well. So that's really good. So that's the brush. These are the paints that I'm going to be using. These are the Micador discs that we sell in our watercolour painting kit. These are the sample colours. So I like to make samples of the colours in there. And yeah, so that mirrors the disc. So the same colour is in the disc. So I know what's where, and I will always have my disc set up with the light colour at the top, so I know my discs are the same as well. All right, I am not getting anywhere here. All right, I can't see comments. Oh, we have got 6 now. Oh, what's happened here? There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. There we are. Diane's painting. Just trying to work out the technical stuff. There's plenty of time. Plenty of time. And you don't need to get too technical. So just practice is the main thing. Practice, practice, practice. All right, I might just move this. So, oops, sorry. It's not going to work. All right. A few others are painting, which is great. All right, so this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to start off with some warm-ups first. So I've got my discs here. Now I'm going to activate my paints, which I do with a little bit of water. Just move those. Oh, that's not ideal. There we go. Don't use that one anyway. A little bit of spray on them to activate them. All right. So they need to sit for a little bit as well beforehand. So I'm going to do some warm-ups, and I have just got a piece of scrap paper here, so it's just a bit of scrap paper. So warming up, what we're going to do, I do have water, so I've got 2 jars of water, one for dirty and one for clean, and hopefully I'll keep them that way, which I can pretty much guarantee it won't. All right, I'm going to use these discs, and I'm going to put the colour onto my little plate here, so that I've got a bit more control of the colour, and I can mix colours on here as well. Nearly did it. And we want watery, so we want the consistency of tea here, which is like that. So it's runny, coloured, clear water. All right. Now, when you're painting a tulip, let me grab this. They're just a half cup. All right. They're a little darker in the bottom, and then we build up the layers with a little bit more interest in the depth of colour. So if you look at this one here, it's really quite dark under here and lighter on the top. It's dark in here and lighter out here. So we might even, with the paint, we can even soften this edge right off so that it's kind of just blurs out into the background. this one here, same again. It's really dark underneath and really light on the top, with a bit of darkness in here, but super, super light on the top. So that's where we start with the layers. So our tea layer is really, really light, and that's our very lightest shade as well. So I'm just going to practice first, and then we will move on and we will paint a few together and hopefully make something really nice. All right, let's just, we'll have that a bit darker, a bit more of this into it. And maybe add a little bit of blue. It's kind of that's a nice colour. All right, that is my tea layer. Now all we're going to do is, starting from the bottom, we're going to make a cup shape like that. 1, 2, maybe a little bit in the middle. Okay, and there's my basic shape of a tulip. Okay, let's paint another one beside it. There, another one in the middle, and another one around. Loosen it off just a little bit, and that's your basic shape. Now the stems, tulip stems are really straight, usually fairly straight anyway. They have a little cup in the bottom and very straight, and the leaves, I have one here, so really straight, and then the leaves are kind of fat and up. So when we're using our brush, we're going to mix up a green. Oh, that's dark. Let's add some yellow into that. See if I can bring that back. That's a little better. I might add a little bit of blue. That's nice. And maybe some more yellow. Let's soak that up. There we are. Okay, that's a nice colour. All right, it's just a matter of playing with the colour and mixing until you get something that you like. So this is really watery. So you've got to think of just black tea. That's how watery we want it. A little cup for the bottom. Big long line. Now holding your brush loosely, and use your whole arm to make a straight line. Oh, there you go. Kind of straight. Bit of a cup and straight down. There we are. Now for the leaves, we talk about different brush marks. So you want small, thin, fat, and up to thin. So it's just about using the brush and pushing the body of the brush. So using the tip, the body, and up to the tip. And there you are. There's a tulip leaf. We'll do that again. We'll do it off this one. Okay, hope you can see the tip, the body, and then back up to the tip. There we go. All right, another one out that side. Body, up to the tip. Tip, body, up to the tip. All right, so we wait for that to dry. I do have a little dryer here. Rinse off my brush. I'm going to give it a dry. Let me see if I can mute this, and hopefully you won't hear my Okay, there we go. Someone tell me, did that mute it? Because I'm still learning. Hopefully that muted. Oops. Go back to the comments. All right. So kind of dry, not quite dry enough, but we'll keep going. I'm going to add a bit more of the red to this to try and make it a little richer. As you can see, it's probably my favourite colour here. There we are. So now my thickness needs to be more like milk. So I'm adding a lot more red into it. Now it's a lot thicker than what it was originally. So that was my first layer and this is my second layer. So I'd still like it a little thicker. I'm trying to think what colour to add. I'll try a little bit of the brown in it. Maybe. Oh, just a little bit. There we are. I don't mind that colour. Michelle said, yes, that worked. Thank you. There we go. It's all a learning curve. All right. Try a bit of that. Oh, that's made it a bit wild. A bit more of this. There we go. All right, so that's my milk layer. And what I want to do is just start from the very bottom of each tulip by adding the milk layer here, and then I'll soften it off with the clean water. So I want a little bit for there, a little bit out here, and another little bit out here. Rinse it off, back into my clean water, and I want to soften those edges off a little bit. So remember, it was really light at the very top and really dark at the bottom. So we just want to soften that off a little bit. There we are. Just soften it off a little bit. Now, we're not going for realism. There we are. And I'm happy for that to blend in a little bit with the green. I'm going to go straight in here and pick up just some of that colour, which will make it even a bit richer. Okay. Same over here. A little bit in the bottom, in the bottom, in the bottom. Rinse it off. And I do have a tissue here that I tend to dry my brush off a little bit with, and that will just soften that up there. There, we can add a little bit extra just to soften the edges out just that little bit. There we are, and I did pick up some of that and drop it in the bottom. This is where you can also drop in other colours. So if we wanted to go into the yellow and drop some yellow in while it's still wet, I've picked up yellow in here, so I'm going to drop a bit of yellow in, drop a bit up the top, and that will make it even more interesting when it dries. There we go. And a little bit of colour on the leaves just to give them a bit more depth as well. So we want some more green, a darker green. I'm going to try and mix my own green more so with blue and yellow. So I'm going to go into this blue. So that's made that really blue. And see what I can do if I mix a lot of yellow into that. Oh, that's lovely. There we are. It's probably a nicer green than the straight out of the palette green, and that's always, you know, when that happens, it's always nicer. So I'm going to pick up just some darker bits and blend them off. I don't have a lot of water on my brush at the moment, so I'm just picking up that thicker paint, our milk layer, and I'm just going to add just a little bit onto the bottom of the stems, and maybe a little bit under here as well. A bit here where it would be darker, a little bit there, maybe a bit down the stems, and then coming in with clean water, blending those, just softening that off, just that little bit. There we are. Okay, there we are. Now we need to wait for these to dry, and then we'll finish off with the very fine details. How are we going for time? 20 minutes. The other thing I like to do while we're doing this, let's grab another tissue, is to pull some of the colour back, and you can get some really interesting marks then. So I've just got a clean tissue and I pulled it back. Oh, yeah, there you go. You can see more of the yellow. There we are. I really like that. Watercolour is a lot of push and pull. So you can see that it's just got some really interesting marks that it's made. So all I want to come back now with the darkest red is just some really, what it needs is to separate some petals out. So really only between those petals and maybe a bit of interest here and here. Let me dry it off. I won't be a second. There we are. Okay, how's everyone going? Am I not going too fast for you? I hope not. All right. All I'm going to do is to go straight into the red. So this is my honey layer. I'm picking it up just with the tip of my brush, which is fairly dry-ish. I'm picking up the concentrated paint. So there's only a tiny bit of water in the bottom of that. And all I want to do, just move that for a sec, is to separate, like this looks a bit like a blob and I want to make it look like two petals. So I'm just going to go from here up a little bit and maybe add a little bit here as well. And then rinse it off, and with a clean brush, I'm just going to keep a hard edge and a soft edge. And this one I'm gonna flip it around. All right, so what I'm going to do is bring it this way. So this is my main petal. So I just wanted to separate that off. I'm going to put a little bit up here as well, tie the colour in. There you go. Okay, soften that off. And I'm pretty happy with that one. I don't think it needs much more at all. Let me show you a little closer. You like that. Once that dries, I'm pretty happy with that. This one just also needs a little bit of separation in here, and again I think it needs to go this way, so here, maybe up here, this one in here, just a bit there, and again I'm going to turn it upside down. And there. You can then come back and drop a little bit more red if you want to make it even more vibrant. Red there. And maybe I'm going to drop a bit of yellow in. Straight in there. Drop a bit of yellow. There we are. Okay. Okay. How'd that go? Are you happy? So we've got about 25 minutes because I thought we'd go for about an hour. All right, let's paint together. Let's do this. Now you've got the idea. Let's make an artwork. Right, where did I put my paper? I know I put it in a safe place. There we are. All right. There's my piece of paper. This is just A4. It is 100% cotton because it is nice paper. So it's A4, 300 GSM or 140 pound. So I think that's about 8 by 11 or 8 by 10 and a half or something, 11 and a half, something like that. So it's just your regular sized piece of paper. Okay, I'm just going to move my water. There we are. That's better. All right. Kerry needs a dryer. Any hairdryer is fine. A hairdryer is fine. This is mine. It's a heat gun and I got it on Amazon. They're not very expensive, maybe $20 each. But they're really good and it doesn't take up much room. I just find it sits on my desk. It's right there. So it's right there because oh, look what I've done. Anyway, Yeah, heat gun's good, but just use a hairdryer. There we go. Righto, I have made a mess, so let's add to it. I am going to go back to this one. So we're going to talk composition a little bit. This one has 3 focal flowers and a few extras. Where's my other one? Another one. Up here was another. This one has 4 focal flowers and a few extras. And these really light ones up the top are really interesting. They're in the background, but the other interesting that I like with this one is I've added a bit down here and in here as well of the pink. So it just ties it in a little bit, and I do love some splatters at the end. So we're going to talk composition. So we're going to go, 3s are good. So we might do 3. 1, 2, 3 down our page with a few other small ones in the background. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of that one. I've got this orangey colour mixed up, so I think I'm going to stick with that. And I am going to shock you a little bit. Let's just splash some paint around. Hang on, that didn't go water enough, so I went watery. Oh, like that. All right. I've gone really watery, so I've got hardly any colour on my brush, and I'm going to put in some tulips. And they don't have to be anything more than just the shape, because this is our tea layer. It's right in the background, and we will build them up. And if we don't like them, then we'll push them right into the background. And another one here. I don't usually paint in orange very often, so, this is new. It's good to push yourself. And another one. Sorry, hang on. Let me get a drink. Right, back again. Oh, that's vibrant. Do we want to go that bright? Probably not. There we are. And our last one. We're still gonna go on the diagonal, but I'm gonna go a little closer to this one, and it probably will even touch a little. So I'm gonna go here, and another petal in the middle, and another one here. Okay, and it is a little brighter. While I've got the paint on my brush, I'm going to really add a lot of water, and I'm going to add those other ones in the background. They're smaller and lighter as well, so that's bright. Okay, 1, 2, 3. This one might be a little more closed. And down here, 1, 2, 3. One right out here can be going off the page. You can see that. 1, 2. That one's right off the page. And to tie, maybe another one in here. Really little one. There we are. All right. Wash off your brush. We're going to add the stems. And that's an interesting colour now. I always find my colours on my palette get more and more interesting as I paint, so I really like that colour. I hope I've got enough of that. Let's quickly do some stems before we run out. Down, straight down. That one a bit of a stem. Another one. Bring that stem down. You don't want them hanging off in the distance, so a bit of a cup for that one, and then some stem coming down. One for that one as well. All right. I'm not liking that bleeding, so back to my tissue. I'm just going to pull that back up. I think it'll be all right once we put the next layers on. So there you are. Okay, some leaves. Okay, back up here. See, there we are. I probably don't have enough there to do the leaves, so let's try mixing. Oh, there we are. Blue and yellow make green. Let's see what we can do. It's pretty dark. I'll add a whole lot more yellow into that. Oh, that's better. I'll pull that out there. That's still my consistency of tea out here, and this will thicken up a little bit to do our next layer, so nothing's wasted, and anything that's left on here I can always reactivate later as well. Okay, tip, body and tip. I hope you can't hear. Can you hear my dog? Anyway, he's been stuck inside all day, so he's barking. Tip, body and tip. We've got a bit of dry brushing happening here. Let me show you. I hope you can see that. Interesting happens, and this is cold pressed paper, so it has a bit of texture to it as well. So that's why I've got a bit of dry brushing. So I'm happy with that. It's kind of a little happy accident. Let's add a few more. Tip, body, tip. Tip, body, tip. Another one, tip. Make a big fat one here. Okay, while they're wet, I'm going to add a bit of yellow into them as well. Picking up, I'll put those in there. Picking up just a bit of yellow into that while it's wet. This side of my artwork needs a bit more interest. I add a few more leaves and maybe some grasses. Bit of grass here. Now remember, I had in that other one I showed you, it had a bit of pink down the bottom here, so we're going to add that as well. And these faint green lines are nice as well, so I'm going to add those. So it's just about creating interest all the way through your artwork. So I'm just going to pick up a bit of yellow in here. That was a bit dirty there. So if you get something where I've mixed some green and some orange, has made a muddy colour. So I'm just going to take that off my palette because we don't want mud at this stage. Some clean water. A little bit. I'll just do that and that just to make a bit of interest in here. Just to tie the eye all the way through. Right. Oh. All right. It's probably close to being dry, actually. I'm going to give it a quick dry, and then we can move on to the next layer. Let's do that. All right, I won't be a second. Okay. All right, now it has buckled a little bit, but I'm just back rolling it, and that's all it needs. You can always tape it down, whatever you like or whatever you prefer to do. I tend not to. I'm usually in a hurry, or I'm usually just painting, and I tend not to tape many things down. Some I do, but not often. All right, we'll go back in. So I want to mix up with this. I want to mix a bit more pigment into it to make my milk layer that we'll add at the bottom. Oh, I think I forgot to give that one a stem. Let me do that one now. pet hate of mine is to not give things stems. There we are. That's better. Okay. Now, right, I'm going to pick up quite a bit more red and put it into this mix here. I'm just rolling my brush in. These brushes are great because they hold a lot of pigment right up. So I've rolled it in there, picked up quite a lot. That's quite thick now. I'm happy with that. For my colour, I might add a bit of yellow just to brighten it up. Let's see what we can do. Rolling it again to pick up quite a bit of pigment and just to lighten it a little. Okay. Did you hear my dog, Michelle? Wow. He's settled. It's okay. Righto. Next. So starting from the bottom, and we're going to give these, starting from the bottom where our darkest shade was, here, because these are a bit bigger as well, up here, and this side, out all the way under here. Okay, and this is where I can drop some red in here. I'm going to pick up straight red and drop it straight in the bottom. And that will blend and do its thing. Make some beautiful colours. With a clean brush, I'm just going to soften this off so that we go up to our very lightest shade. Just going to pull that up, just that's ever so little to there. This one. And this one. Just soften those off. And we talked about some of the edges just fade off into the shadows. I'm just going to turn that around. I'm going to do that here. So this one's just going to blend it all the way out to there. Add that around here as well. There we are. So when we're painting in watercolour, we talk a lot about hard and soft edges. So finding the edge, like this one, which we will add a darker colour. So we're finding a hard edge, and we've just given that a soft edge. So hard and soft edges. Right, next one. Stick with this colour in the bottom, up here. Up here, and really we're kind of only working with 3 petals, but with the depth that's made 6 petals now. All right, soften that off. We're just going to soften that ever so slightly up here, a bit up here, and this one. I'm just going to pick up a bit more colour outside, and I'm going to pick up the red. That's blooming in here and it's looking beautiful. Okay. Bit of red. That's going to look nice. Red out here. Okay. I'm loving the colour, and it's really not a colour that I paint a lot with, which is great. Very rarely will you see me paint in reds and orange. There we are. Like that. Beautiful. So this one has ended up being behind a little bit, so it's going to be darker as well because it might be in the shadows. So just do that. Going over time, 7:40. I'm doing so well. I'm going to pick up a lot of red under here. Just a little soften of those edges, just out here, there. Okay. Now these ones in the background, some I'm going to give a little bit more interest to, but they won't be anywhere near as bright and vivid as those. So just keeping them a little darker, lighter in the background. A little bit on here, but not much. And a little bit on here. Now I haven't even picked up more on my brush yet. It's all quite dry. A little bit on this one. and I think they'll dry beautifully. A little bit up here. This one's a bit bigger, so we'll just give that a bit of colour up here and soften those off where we think they need it. Yeah, this one's really going to go off into the distance. This one's a bit bright, but I could bring some soft edges on that, and I'm going to blot that back as well. Another bit of tissue, clean. Oh, that's nice. There we go. Soften that off a little bit. And do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. We need some darkness now on the leaves. Everyone keeping up? How are you going? I hope I'm not going too fast. Let me know. Righto. I'm going to make up a darker green. Let me see what I can do with this blue. A little bit of blue. A little bit more. Some blue. And a little bit of yellow. That's pretty good. I think that's going to be nice. This is really quite limey, and I really want it a bit darker than lime. Oh, that not that dark. Okay. Got a yellow. Yeah. All right, that's better. All right, so we're working on the milk layer on the leaves now, while these dry as well. So they're going to be darker underneath the leaves, and it will certainly have some highlights. So under here, and don't be afraid to add some grasses, make things interesting, and just by using the brush really loosely up here as well. And there we go. Now I forgot to, we're going to need a really dark. Oh, don't mind that. Underneath here, in here, and in here, and in here, we're going to soften those off. Okay. All right, now I'm coming back with the water, and we're just going to soften that off a lot. And we could also, don't mind that, going to leave that there. Pull it back, yeah, don't mind that. There we are. A little bit of push and pull here, but I'm going to add this dark down here as well. Okay. How you going? Who's painting with me? Bit of green, another dark. There we are. Oh, that's a nice colour. There we are. It's just a bit of play, really, by adding different greens here and there. And, oh, what have I done here? Well, that's not ideal. Let me see if I can clean that up. It was on my hand. We might have to add another tulip over that. There we go. Nothing is not fixable. We'll go dark red. Add some dark. Look at that. There we are. Gone. Soften that off. It's another tulip in the background. Bit of green. There we are. Yep, that's okay. All right. We're nearly there. All we need to do is this little bit of separating here and here, maybe a little bit on that one as well. This one's looking pretty good. A bit of blending in here. It's just a bit harsh between the green and the orange. I'll just add orange. No, we might have to do that with the next layer. Okay. All right. Don't forget to breathe. Okay. Oh, Kerry, how's it going? All right, I'm going to dry it off. 1 second. Okay, so I had some of the teal on my hand here and it got on the paper, but you know, I saved it. It's fine. Accidents happen, and even with watercolour, it's you can make things work for you. A couple of things that so we need to separate the petals out here. I'm happy with the contrast I've got in the greens in the leaves. I think they look good. Yeah, let's just do that. So you can do it with this because it does come down to a really nice fine tip. Where are my good brushes? Here's that one. Let me just find my favourite brush. No, I can't. It's like that. I can't see it at the moment. So you can go down to a really fine rigger brush, which is that one. Really fine tip, which you can do this with. You can do it with that. I still tend to just prefer to just use the mop brush and use the tip. So we want to use pretty much the straight paint with just a little bit of water in there for our honey layer. And really it's the very fine details in the end. And yeah, happy little accidents, Michelle. I can see that. Anyway, you know, we worked around it. Just going to move that up there so I can just get a little closer. And when I'm painting, you might have seen when I started to begin with, was really loose. So I'm further up my brush. The more detail, I come further down my brush. So now I'm painting right down here, which is something you just won't see me do very often. It is the very fine, absolute little details that you will see. So starting off here, and particularly if you're getting for the stems and things, you're better off to be holding a brush right at the end. So you're nice and loose, nice and relaxed, and it makes it easy to make straight lines, straight-ish lines. So I'm going straight into my orangey red here, and I've picked it up just on the tip, and I'm going to start separating out my petals. So we'll start here because this is the main one that's bugging me. We're going to go here. I'm going to add a bit up here as well of the colour. Now we don't want to outline the petal, but we want to give it some detail. So I've just cleaned off my brush. I'm going to turn it around again so that I can I'm going to keep a hard edge and a soft edge. Just softening these edges off here. There we are. And there's my petal. Okay. Back into the red. I'm going to go here because that's where it needs to be separated off. A little bit of interest here, like in the yellow up here, and maybe keep that nice and dark here. And a little bit of clean water, hard and soft edges. Just soften that off. There. Okay. This is going to need a bit of interest because it's just sort of, it's just a bit too different. I'm liking the white that I've got between it, so I don't want to lose that. I'm just going to bring at the darker colour here. Let's see what I can do. Just by softening that off, just that little bit. bring that ever so slightly all the way down. I'm going to join that up. There we are. Better. Okay, this one. Here we go. 751. We're going brilliantly. A little bit of colour here and out here. Maybe a little bit up the tip. Rinse it off. And blend it in. Just give that a little bit of colour. Tease that in. And then we're going to blend that all the way out to the same colour. There we are. Same here. Soften that off. And then that one's good. I'm going to flip it upside down, so don't ever be afraid to turn your page around. If it means getting it right and making it easier for yourself, then do it. So we're going to go really dark under here. And this needs separating out. And I didn't like how this joined onto here, so we're going to fix this at the same time. Soften this off. Soften this in. I'm just going to really soften that all the way out. It's probably a bit wet and it might end up with a puddle. Oh, there's some teal there. There we go. All right. Back in here. This is where I'm just going to blend that down, and then I'll pick up a bit of green and darken it. Just see what happens there. I'm happy for that to blend a little bit and make it really dark. I think that's going to look better. And it's just fixed that little bit of, it was too obvious, the colour difference there. All right. Petal up the middle. Let's give it a bit of love. And just a bit here. Maybe a bit up the top. Okay. All right. Another one done. Just this one. Bit here. This one out here. We'll go over the top of my little accident, and that'll make that just a bit interesting as well. Soften it off. And there. Okay. I'm feeling that this is just not quite right either. I wonder if I go into the orange. I wonder what that's like. Not really the colour I wanted. We'll see what that did. Needs a bit of here, a bit up here, under here. Let's see what I can do with that. It needs, it might actually, what I'm going to do is drop a bit of red in the bottom here and see what happens. There we are. All right, anything else that you think might need a little bit of depth? Any of these, you know, they don't have to be particularly anything. You know, if they're not tulips, it doesn't matter. There we go. Now I'm going to have to add a bit up here as well. All right. And I'm going back into my green. I think you can see that. Back into my green that's up here. Put that down. Just to tidy up a few little bits, like here. I think here needs a bit of something. This looks a bit loved. It's a bit disconnected there as well. I don't mind that. There we go. Just looking at it on the monitor, and I'm going to, I think it needs some orange down here just to tie the eye all the way through. So I am going to just go into my really watery layer here. You know, this could be a tulip in here and a tulip in here and maybe one up here. Okay, need a bit of a stem. Okay, all right, I think that is better. I'm really happy with it. For somebody who doesn't paint in those colours, like that's just not my go-to. There we are. I don't mind it. I always love some splatters at the end, so let's do that. I'm going to do it in the red. I'm going to do it. That's my really watery mix, so I'm going to use the watery mix on my brush. I tend to roll my brush a lot in the water to pick up as much pigment all the way into the body, and to make splatters, all I do, it's loaded, and I just tap on the top of my brush. And that also is going to bring me a bit of colour in places I think it needs it. There we go. All right. 8 o'clock, 7:57. I'm impressed. I thought we'd paint for about an hour, so I'm happy with that. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed that. I have. I've enjoyed that more than I thought I was going to. So there you go. And you will have the replay, so you'll have access to this group, and you'll get a copy. I'll edit the replay, and you can get a copy of that as well. So there you go. And if you did paint with me, pop it in the group. I'd love to see what you've done. There you go. So I should dry that off. Is it going to drip? Just that little bit there that might drip, and then we can have a chat about it. There we go. All right, come back. I will just switch the camera around again. There we are. Okay. There we are. Back again. There we are. Look, I'm really happy with it. There we are. How's that look? Can you see? I think you can see that. Still a bit drippy. There we are. But I'm really happy with it. I think you can see the petals are separated enough, and it's dripping. We don't want that. I'll take a photo of it and pop it in the group so that you've got that as a reference as well. So thank you very much for joining, and for those that painted with me, that's awesome. Well done. Is that Malini? Thank you. I enjoyed that. My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. So yeah, look, let's do it again. Couple of other things. What did I have here? A couple of others that have been really popular in the workshops is that one. The beautiful water lilies, so we could do that. And that's another one that's been really popular in the in-person workshops, so we could do that as well. And this one actually has an outline that you can print onto your paper, so I'll work on that. Thank you again. It's 8 o'clock. Enjoy your evening, and thank you so much for painting with me. I'm glad that was fun. Thanks, Kerry. That's awesome. Yeah, look, there you are. It was fun. We will do it again in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a week, 2 weeks, who knows. But yeah, but please just show me what you paint. I would love to see exactly what you do. All right, I'm going to go and have a sit down, see that dog, and thanks for joining me. We will see you all again soon. See ya. Bye.